Hello and welcome to Tidbeats. My name is Konstantin, and in today's episode, I'm going to show you how to design a kick drum in Bitwig. I'll be using Bitwig's own EQing and then give the drum some additional flavor with SDRR and MJUC from Klanghelm, as well as Satin from Yuhi. So let's get started. I'll bring up EQing as the first step and quickly lay down a 4 on the floor kick drum pattern. That sounds good already, but the kick drum sounds a bit honky. So the first thing I want to do is actually EQ out some of the lower mids to give it a bit more presence and punch. So let's add an EQ to the EQing effects chain. I'm just using Bitwig's built-in EQ for that, and then I'll just notch out some of the lower mids. That does sound better already to my ears. Now the next step is to give the kick drum a bit more flavor, and I want to use SDRR for that. So let's bring that plugin up. And before we can get to work, we actually need to make sure that the signal level that SDRR is receiving is healthy. SDRR is an analog model plugin, and it actually expects the incoming signal to be 0 VU or minus 18 dBFS. There's two ways we can fix the fact that the signal is currently coming in too hot. We could either trim it and then later compensate for the loss in gain, or we can change SDRR's calibration, basically how the plugin defines what 0 VU is, and that's exactly what I want to do. In the top right corner of the plugin, you can basically specify what 0 VU is. And I want to raise that level until I see the needle bouncing around the 0 VU mark. And -8 looks about right to me. SDRR provides 4 different types of distortion. There's tube, digi, fuzz, and desk. For kick drum, I personally prefer the desk mode. I'll just quickly enable automatic gain compensation as well, and then we are good to go. So let's bring up that distortion level. Not too much. I just want to give that kick drum a little more weight. So let's listen to that kick drum before and after. Currently, you can listen to it with saturation, and here it is without saturation. Once again. As you can see, the saturation really rounds out the kick drum, gives it a bit more upfront present, and makes it especially also more audible on like smaller speakers. Next, I want to compress that kick drum a little more to give it even more punch. I'm just going to bring up MJUC for that. Again, this is an analog model plugin, so we have to adjust the calibration. And to make that easier, I will switch the meter to show us the input level. And that looks good to me. We are ready to compress the kick drum a bit, so let's switch this back to gain reduction, so we can actually see what we are doing and then dial up the compression. That sounds good to me. So let's listen to it before and after. No compression. And then with a bit of compression. MJUC provides additional options that control the timbre of the sound, so let's take a look. We can, for instance, add a bit of drive to give the kick drum even more saturation. So let's play around with that. I like where this is going, but this is a little too much for my taste. So let's bring this back a bit. And then let's see what the timbre control does. It's very subtle in this case. I'm liking it somewhere around here. Once again, without compression, and then with compression. I'm pretty happy with this result. But I want to go one step further and actually give that kick drum some tape saturation. And for that I want to use one of my favorite plugins, which is Satin by MJUC. So let's bring this up. And there you can already hear the effect of the plugin. This is way too much for my taste. I have one favorite preset that I usually like to start with, and it's called the sweet spot. So let's load that up. And that's beautiful. So let's listen to the kick drum with and without tape saturation. That's without. And then that's with tape saturation. And as you can hear, the kick drum has like a lot of body now, it's very present. Something that I'm just noticing is that the individual kick drum sounds are bleeding into each other a bit. So one thing I want to do is just bring back that decay a little. Yeah, I'm really liking this one. So let's listen with and without the effects. So this is the final result, and let's listen to what we started with. Quite the difference. And what I really like about Bitwig is that all the internal effects have these effect containers, so it's really easy to save this kick drum sound as a preset now. So let's just do that. I'd say it's more on the softer side. It is still pretty clean and to me very analog sounding. And there you have it, a nice kick drum for your melodic techno tracks. Thanks for listening and see you next time.